Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
It's to fill the gaps in you, not in the program. Because you've all got a reason why you haven't exhibited more intestinal fortitude, I think is another way of saying it. And you all got a reason. That's fine. And you'll all have a reason when you're, that nobody will care about. Yet the people, I say success leaves clues. I'm changing this slightly for this seminar, to get back to your question, is seeing is believing. We're going to hear from people that in the last 90 days hit it over the fucking, for six, to use cricket terminology, hit it out of the park, to use baseball terminology. The last 90 days. Big time. Yet, and you've got your own reasons, right? You all got it. Now, in the 90s, I used to go around and ask you your own reason to embarrass you and humiliate you. That's when we had people shit their pants, cry, piss their pants. Since I don't do that anymore, we haven't had a good shit in the pants in, at least 10 years. But we had them. And then again, most of the money that has been accumulated from my flock, as it were, was in the 90s and early 2000s. Because you put it right up on the table, I'm a miserable cunt. Not just that Mr. Peña says I'm a cunt. I really am a cunt. And I don't deserve, like Elon, which I'm not saying he's deserving. He put all his money on the line when his two projects, he had a third project, but I forget what the name of it. What was the third project? No, SpaceX had a 5%, and the car had 5%, but there was another one.
Boring company.
Pardon?
Boring.
Oh, and it failed. But again, for those of you that are pundits of history, if it wasn't for Obama, we would know Elon Musk's name. Now, y'all know that, right? You Google the fuck out of everything I say. Obama gave him $500 million for SpaceX and gave him, I think, for Tesla and $1 billion for SpaceX. Otherwise, those deals would have failed just like the third one. But nobody cares, do they? He's the flavor of the day, and he is. And if he really did say, apparently he did say, that woke and PC were going to be the end of humanity, he's back in my like column now. Okay, yes, sir.
Can I ask?
You can ask whatever you want.
When we are recorded on YouTube, is it announced? I know when we discuss, there are certain things that you rather not see on YouTube when I ask questions. And
well, no. Okay, well, you came to the wrong seminar then.
No.
No. There is no private time here for a good reason. Because you need to express yourself either in the group or in your subgroup. Now, whether you express yourself in the subgroup when the camera's on is up to you, okay? Whether you want to express yourself, your deepest feelings on the camera like right now, it's up to you. If you don't want it to be on camera, don't say it when it's on camera. It's very simple. But that's part of the reason. There are no secrets. There are only mysteries. There's not a man, woman, well, there's no woman. There's not a man in this room that has anything, well, maybe one, that has anything to hide from the general public. Because this program isn't used. I was thinking about this. Somebody asked me, one of my friends from the military a long time ago, he said, why do you tell people that's like the mafia model without a gun? He asked me this. Okay. And I said, well, the reason why is because they put a gun in their mouth to make them a deal they can't refuse, right? We do the exact same without a gun because we put the essence of their future in front of them with no exit, no succession that they can't refuse. We didn't double our business model in success stories, 95%, full transparency, not 100%, 95% up during Corona because Corona was bad for us. As soon as I heard it 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I said, this is our time. I've screamed it from the tallest buildings I could get on. Yet all of you didn't believe me. The guys that you're going to hear this week are zealots that did believe me. You know, I asked the question quite by accident 3 seminars ago, and I don't want you to raise your hand. Most people that come to the seminar believe in something. I'm not saying you have to believe in something. Buddha, Allah, God, you call it a higher power, whatever you call it, right? Have you ever seen that? Have you ever met him? Her? It? No. Why do you believe? Based on faith. That's it. Either it's faith that because your parents taught you, or your grandparents taught you, or you went to a religious type school, but you believe on faith. The one thing that everybody that you're going to listen to this week, and virtually everybody that has done a webinar, they say it in different ways. I follow Dan's word like the word of God. I follow Dan's word like the scripture. I follow Dan. And you apparently don't have faith enough to believe that the system works. It's like when Josh Kim was my poster boy. Oh, God, I should have kept all the comments. He's Michelangelo, reincarnated. He's this. He's Plato. He's Moses. He's Joan of Arc, but a male. Because you couldn't believe that a 17 or 18-year-old kid could make that much fucking money that quickly. You wouldn't believe it. And I can see your faces now. We still have people, not many anymore, that say that you're actors that I rented from Central Casting to be here. Dan's got so much money, he can, a Chinese, a Mexican, a this, a black, Central Casting. I could get better looking people from Central Casting, I assure you, than this fucking group, or any group. Because for them to believe what they hear on YouTube, but the negative comments are way, way down than when I first went on Brian Rowe's London Real in 2014. Then, it was 40, 50, 60% didn't believe anything I said. Now it's 2 or 3 or 4%. Of course, we've produced so many, it's hard. But Josh is a classic example. How did he do it at such a young age? And we've had younger than him. You've got, the 15-year-old did a $53 million deal. Nobody believes. They think that I produced a little shit from Georgia. Because if a 15-year-old can do that, what about you? Or what about you, the meatheads there on YouTube? Did I explain the gap? Why the different, what we're accomplishing here? Okay, anything else along those lines? Or any lines for that matter. Last night you saw the first part of Building America, if I'm not mistaken. Other than they were tougher than you, any takeaways? Okay, no takeaways, good. Another thing that I figured out, not recently, that the difference between the 90s and the early 2000s, since about 2008, when we allegedly had a financial crisis, remember? Allegedly. We didn't, QLA didn't, but I started spoon feeding you. I don't know if that was a natural outcome of me feeling sorry for you. I hope the fuck it wasn't, but I started spoon feeding you, and we're not spoon feeding anymore. If you got no question, no comments, fine, fuck you. Seminar will be over in 3 days. I don't really care. When I started my social media presence because of Brian QLA Rose, which I forever thank him for, I told him on that show I was a cross between Freud, Patton, and Jack Welch. Nothing's changed. But in hindsight, or in farsight, I'm more Patton than Jack Welch, and I'm more Patton than Freud. Because I get it done no matter what. And I told you when you left the seminar, don't take no for an answer. None of you. You write it down now. It's too late now, assholes. Because many of you took no for an answer. In fact, everybody in this room took no for an answer. And part of that no for an answer, it's a numbers game. And I've got a success story. The guy that I told you can't speak English, he made 1,000 calls to do his first deal, 1,000, which is at the low end. We've had a couple that are lower ends. Remember, I gave you 3 examples: 1,800 calls, 1,500 calls, 1,200 calls. 1,200 calls. They were all on the Hall of Fame. But to do their first deal, one was 1,200, one was 1,500, one was 1,800. 1,800 was Bruce Whipple. Most of you know, or have heard of anyway. But we've had people do it less than 1,200. We've had done 1,000. We've had done 700. We've had done 500. 500 calls. And a call, remember I said you're 2,000 cold calls away from being a millionaire. Nobody wrote that down because you didn't believe it then. You don't believe it now. And your first deal, if you do it correctly and you own 2/3 of the fucking deal, you have a short million. In pounds, you don't, not a million. In dollars, you do. In Canadian dollars, you're over $1 million. One deal. That's all it takes. And obviously, with all the postings that we've done, with my current poster boy, which is Thomas McGuire from Canada, and not my poster boy, but a guy that's done terrific, Andreas Milner, who's done about 19 or 20 deals. I forgot to catch the number. He just sent me an email, a board update. Another thing that most of the kids that haven't done deals, have lost their boards, had the deals stolen from them, is I told you another thing that was really important. The most important thing was the chairman, right? But you have to update the board, otherwise they feel left out and they leave, or they steal your deal. We have a few candidates in this room that didn't update them, and they stole your deal. So there's no gap in the information in the seminar. There's gaps in your personality. One of which is testicles is the biggest gap. Unfortunately, most of you still have this baggage. And when Sally and I lived in India, we saw this all the time. All the time. And in the Philippines, we saw this not as much as in India. That little guy, I don't know how much shit that is, but that's a lot of shit. And most of you have still that baggage with you. You may have been able to chip a few of the big parcels off the top, but because you rather be liked than effective. You still rather be liked than effective. Why? This seminar is not about why you rather be liked. It's just a fact. You rather be liked than effective. And as I've said countless times, sympathy and empathy I don't suffer from. I don't have those diseases. Somehow, when they were passing out sympathy and empathy, they missed me. Because I certainly don't suffer from it. Some would suggest that I suffer from the opposite. I don't know. I don't believe that's true. It sounds good for an excuse why you didn't do it, but I don't suffer from that. I have very little baggage. And you all know baggage is self-induced. Nobody makes you anxious. Nobody makes you nervous. Nobody makes you perspire but you. Except for that disease that some people have, allegedly, where you perspire a lot uncontrollably. That's what Prince Andrew says he has, which I think is a load of shit, but anyway. When you left here, you knew this. And I said, you will fall in somewhere between, because you weren't teenagers, the teen and the biggest deal in recorded history. Which is not, that deal is, if you believe the pundits, that deal is going to about $2.6 trillion now. So I could be the multi-trillion-dollar man, but we'll just stay with $1 trillion. Yes, sir. Up. Go ahead.
Was that with Neom?
Correct. And now Neom, I know it has nothing to do with me. Neom now has commercials on the telly, which I find amusing. So that old piece of dirt, sand, that they've been trying to get rid of for 60, 70, 80 years between Saudi, Jordan, and Egypt. People have put up money, and it was Klaus Kleinfeld's idea, praise the Lord, my long-term mentee. Now, Klaus never had a problem thinking big numbers. I'm happy to see you here, like I said last night. We are among the coronaviruses again. And I'm going to say it again, it's going to get a lot worse. Your children will wear masks. And now they've gone from you only have to inoculate old gits like me down to 5, 6-year-olds. And I know there's a whole stream of people, and I asked it at dinner last night. I'm not going to ask it now about the ones that don't want to get vaccinated. There's all kind of theory. Okay, I'm not interested in that. Okay, but there's certain places in the world that if you're not inoculated by January, February, whatever, some of the big Fortune 500 companies, if you're not inoculated, you don't have a job anymore, and you're shit out of luck. And I'm not saying it's. I said, remember, in March on the YouTube, it's going to come down to commerce or lives. And anybody that doesn't think that is a fucking moron. And what does it come down to? Commerce or lives. And now you're beyond a moron now if you don't believe it now. So you're either going to get on the right side of history or you're not. Right now, many of you in this room are not on the right side of history, notwithstanding you consider yourself some sort of QLA bot. You're not. Because the right side of history is taking advantage of it in a legal, moral, and ethical way, and ethics and morals swing in the wind depending where you are in the world. And I said that where there's a rule of law, it's absolutely easy peasy. Where there's not such a great rule of law, it's harder. But it's still possible. Still possible. Now, this is just an update. I'll start at Dr. Phil first. I was struck off the Dr. Phil show, 3 weeks ago, Kat? Struck off. I was going to be one of the primary guys on the show, and I've been interviewed, and the contract was sitting on my laptop, or Kat's laptop, which I didn't sign, and then an hour later after I got the contract, they said that they've had a change in direction, they don't want me. And and I'm positive it's due to my interview. Dr. Phil is allegedly a bully, allegedly. And they asked me some question vis-a-vis his bulliness, and I said, well, I probably fly there, rip his head off and shit down his neck, and I eat fuckers like him for breakfast. Or words to that effect. That's about what I said. And shortly thereafter, I'm struck off. Well, I've been struck off better places than that. In fact, I was struck off Oxford. That's why I have Oxford there. Even though I spoke there, as almost all of you know. I tried to go to school there. The summer of 2020, right? 2020. I was going to take a summer course. And followed up, right? And we're in correspondence with the associate dean of something, and a little bald-headed kid. Sally and I were going to rent a house. We didn't want to stay in the dormitory. We were going to rent a house, and I was going to be down there for the summer. That summer, but fortunately for me and unfortunately for them, Corona came and they canceled the course. But they canceled me before they canceled the course. And they said that I'm making it shorter than the 3 paragraphs they wrote, but you have too much experience, Mr. Peña. You could teach this class, and we would think it would be detrimental to the students. You don't tell me. So I wanted to make sure that those were on the record. Dr. Phil and being struck off by Oxford, even though I spoke there. Now, in theory, my talks are going forward if Corona allows them, because I'm supposed to speak at Princeton in early February, but if they're closing down the campuses, it's not likely that I'm going to be able to speak. And we had devised a program where my flock, as they're now called, and when I come back, I'm going to come back and head up a religion, by the way. They're easy. No taxes. That was suggested to me 30 years ago, but I decided not to. Anyway, so my flock could attend because even at Princeton, if it was open, or I hope it's going to be open, it's going to be spacing and not too many people are going to be able to be, unlike what Goins set up for me at University of Pennsylvania, it's going to be spaced like this, so we're not going to be able to get too many people in the room. So I was renting a hotel 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away, for $450. So I was going to speak there on a Monday and speak at the hotel on a Thursday. Okay, 2 days later. And so I could get a few hundred people in. My expense, not charging anybody anything. So that's what my program was going to be in 2022, that because I anticipated the schools were going to not allow full deal like I had at the University of Pennsylvania, but space, so I was going to rent a hotel room nearby. And the hotel that's right almost on campus, the room was too small. So we had to move out to a Marriott, right? A Marriott. Well, that may or may not happen now. I asked you this during the break while we were waiting for our Asian buddy to get here. Why we still fall for gurus, influencers, salesmen, and politicians who lie. Because they make it sound believable. And we're susceptible to lies, just like the lies our parents said. You can be anything you want, Johnny. You can be anything you want, Abdul. I don't think that... Did your parents ever tell you that? Fuck. A lying Muslim couple. You can't be anything you fucking want. And that's one of the things that I'm going to prove running for politics here. From the barrio to Westminster. Success leaves clues, and seeing is believing. I've thought long and hard how I can make the material more believable. And short of having them in person here, and we've had them in person here, tell you, we just had John and Amber, we just had Marcus Bauer, we just had the Murph, we just had, who else came in person? Huh? Thomas. Andreas. And you still don't believe. I'm not going to ask you why, because I don't want to give a shit why. I toyed with the idea of having those guys close deals for you. And so far, all the people I asked said yes, giving up 95% of the deal. That's pretty fucking pathetic. Every person I asked said yes. 95% of the deal. So we're at the limit of what we can do, seeing is believing. There is no other phase. The other phase is that we either restrict the people that come to the seminar, restrict by, most of you wouldn't be here today. I mean, for the first seminar, you wouldn't be here. Based on your background, your CV, what you've accomplished in life, blah, 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 blah. Instead of where I says, what did you do? Nothing. What did your parents do? Nothing. What did your nothing, nothing, nothing. You had to put something down that you did something. Your parents did something, and your grandparents did something. So you know all of you would be not here from the first seminar. So then I could say, well, maybe just for the kids had to do something. And not the parents and grandparents. So I've looked at all the permutations. And the permutation we have is the best, but it's not the most effective. And I'm looking, since I've already achieved all my goals, vis-a-vis coaching, I want to be more effective. Because I certainly don't care about being liked. You all know that. So I want to be more effective. So how can I be more effective? And so that's what 2022 is going to be about. I'm giving half the seminars, and it's about Dan being more effective. And giving half the seminar gives me plenty of time to look at, with my exploratory committee, about running for elected office. So this time next year, I'll decide whether I'm going to run here in Angus for the Scottish Parliament, actually Southern Angus it'll be, or Angus for the Westminster Parliament. And just like you would not imagine, you can run for both. And you can have seats in both. I don't understand it intellectually, but you can. And you can have a job. And they complain about the fucking politicians down south having jobs that are making £500,000, £600,000, which is peanuts. But anyway, in addition to their £145,000 as a member of parliament, and they bitch about it, yet they allow them to have jobs. I don't understand that. And for the people that are in the Scottish Parliament, I don't want to say Scottish Parliament is a joke, because I know there's a lot of sincere people that are in the Scottish Parliament. But for the most part, they're empty suits. They're empty suits. And everybody, I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine almost everybody in the Scottish Parliament has at least one job, if not two or three. So success leaves clues. Now, pass out where are the thumb drives we're going to give the kids? Okay. Group number 1. Group A, excuse me. Oh, you hand them out. Blue. Goes to Jan, him. You're the team leader. I know you're thrilled, but no more thrilled than I'm picking you. And then you know how to copy him on your laptop. If you don't, fuck you. He has all the cases for you. Your team. Your team is WALEEW. Stefan Siegman. Okay, well, raise your hand. Okay. And Mark Ermt. Okay. So you guys get it from him. Got it? Next group. Group B. Torres. Ándale pues. Torres. Aziz. Key. Ekman. You're in Torres group. You're red, by the way, B. C, green. Goins is the captain. Flogel and Salazar. Okay. He's green, C. D is yellow. Shaz is the captain. Tony Amarco. Oscar Floth. And David Chung. Now, group C, green, is going in the study in the castle. That's where you're going to meet, breakout. Group A is here. Your breakout's in this room. Okay? Torres, red, group B, is in the castle in the library. And group D, yellow, Shaz, is in the trophy room in the castle. Are there any questions? Where you're going, who's your captain, and who to get the information off of? Good. Okay? Now, the program is as follows. After I pontificate a little more this morning and answer any questions you might have, you will go to your breakout rooms at approximately 10 is when I'm going to let you loose. You're due back here in this room at 12:30-ish. And then I'll answer any questions, and you'll go to lunch at 1. I come back. We all meet up here again at 2 after lunch, answer any questions. Then you break out again. Now, in the breakout rooms, I will go around. I'll start in this room, and then I'll go to all 3 of the other rooms, and I will... by the way, the first case you're doing is AOL. The first case you're doing is AOL. I will go around and ask, the first one they won't have done much, but I'll ask you or give you some ideas about AOL. Then I'll go around to all the different breakout venues and I will see and listen to see if you're on the right track. Okay. And we will be on AOL most of today, unless we got some whiz kids here, which we don't. First of all, there's a lot of material to go through. And I'll be able to tell. Now, I'm not accusing any of you of something that you may be thinking of doing, but I want you to go through the material and understand what a real deal looks like, not your deals. And depending on the input I get from the AOL, will be determinant whether you do another big deal before you start on the smaller deals. But by tomorrow afternoon, either way, you're going to be doing the smaller deals, with the basis of the big deals as your underpinning, so to speak. And towards the end of the week, if any of you have any deals, as I mentioned last night, that are really like on the 1 inch line or the 1 yard line, whatever, I'll ascertain whether we should try to close them on the phone. And we closed. I have 100% track record of closing deals here. I close it, not you. 100%. I have not failed. But from what I gather, we don't have anybody on the 1 inch line. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll stand to be corrected. Any questions on anything that I've spewed through my lips so far? Yes, sir.
One question. I go back. You said to me the first time you have to drop your family. So I'm perfectly honest with you. I didn't believe you. I thought that was.
It was obvious in your face you didn't believe me.
No, but I thought it was inhuman. But you have to drop them. You're right.
Thank you. I know that was hard for him to tell me, but I mean, I know. And for some of you, it's not possible for you to do that. You wasted your money coming here because I'm not going to be able to save you. I said your God, your country. I don't mean to do terrorist shit. I don't mean that way. Your country, your family, your nieces, and whatever that shit is, everybody. For 10 years, I was isolated here. 7 years, I didn't talk to my mother. 8 years, Sally didn't talk to her mother. And that's hard for a daughter. It wasn't hard for me. May you rest in peace, Mom. And then she did me the favor to come and died here. But anyway, if you don't do that, it's like Corona. Now, during the last Corona lockdowns, your buddy Marcus went and almost got arrested 15, 20 times because he was out running and gunning. He didn't stop because of Corona. He didn't stop because of Corona. He didn't stop for anything. And I'm sure I wouldn't have stopped for Corona. Now, Sally's got me on an electronic lead where she's yanking my neck. She's afraid that somebody's going to spit on me or some shit. I'm going to get Corona. People, I spit on them, they die. I don't, so I'm not worried about that. Any other questions? Okay, kids. Break out, and I will be around to see you. And we will film you. And if you don't want questions of a personal nature, don't ask them when the camera's on. Okay? We'll see you. I'll be around to see you. Thank you.